What's up, and welcome to another episode of Gizmo Slip Tech. Today we're talking about the 5 biggest mistakes that users typically make when buying a gaming laptop. Now, I'm taking most of this information simply from my own past experience. I have owned tons of different laptops of all different shapes and sizes, so I'm going to try to share some of this experiential wisdom slash knowledge. My goal with this video is to help each and every one of you find a laptop that you're going to love and get a ton of enjoyment from in the years to come. So be sure to watch through the whole video if you want to get all of the tips and tricks, because it's really a lot more than just 5. It's like 5 major categories, but a whole bunch of little mistakes that people typically make within each of the categories. Now, before we continue, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Best Buy for sponsoring this video. I do want to make it clear that I would not have taken a sponsorship from Best Buy without being able to be honest about the deals on their website.
As you can see, Best Buy is doing a President's Day sale on a ton of different categories of products, and I'm not an expert on all the products. I am an expert on gaming laptops, so I'm going to go into a little more detail on the gaming laptops, but I also want to point out some of the other deals that they have going on right now that seem really good, at least on the surface. Before purchasing anything, I would recommend checking out some reviews on the individual product. So as you can see, they offer a ton of sales on these gaming laptops, lots of different options here. I went ahead and found 4 of them that seemed the most interesting. We've got the Dell G15 with a 3050 Ti and a Ryzen 7 5800H. Very nice laptop, but only 8 gigs of RAM here. $899. It's a good overall price right now. Next up, we have the Omen 16 RX 6600M. We got a good processor, enough RAM, and a good size SSD here for $1099. That's a great deal. And then we have the Zephyrus G14. This is one of the most popular laptops in 2021, and it is $300 off. Then we have the Aorus 15P for $1899. You get an RTX 3080, 1 terabyte SSD, 32 gigs of RAM, and you get an i7 11800H. I think this is a pretty solid deal. We have a 24-inch 1080p 165 hertz monitor for $169. And then for $299, we have a Dell QHD 165 hertz G-Sync compatible monitor that's on sale for $150 off. I feel like this is also a very nice monitor for the money. Now, Best Buy is also offering some great deals on some TVs, including the Samsung 75-inch QLED TV, which is the same TV I have in my living room. I absolutely love it, and I paid way more than $1,600. And then we have the iPhone 13 Pro up to $700 off. And then for the Samsung Galaxy S22, you can save up to $1,000. And then there are appliances that are on sale. You know that if you're in the market for a dishwasher, washer, refrigerator, stovetop, any of those items, Best Buy's got you covered. There are lots of different fitness equipment that's on sale, electric bikes that are on sale. This is actually something I'm looking at potentially buying sometime soon. So this is very, very interesting to me. And they also have some hoverboards on sale. Like this one's 50% off. Lots of interesting deals on Best Buy's site from President's Day. Link in the description if you want to go check them out.
Without further ado, let's get back to the 5 biggest mistakes that you can make when buying a gaming laptop in 2022. The number one mistake that I see users making is missing a key feature that they didn't realize they needed when they bought the laptop, and then it's only a week or 2 weeks into using the laptop they realize they really messed up, and they should have been thinking about it ahead of time and maybe got a different laptop instead. So what are the most common features that you should ask yourself when buying a gaming laptop? In my opinion, one of the biggest features that's often overlooked is the display. Not only do you want a high refresh rate display, I recommend at least 120 Hertz fast response rate display or faster, but also you want to have a high enough color gamut, at least 100% sRGB, but ideally 100% Adobe RGB is like the gold standard because it makes video games pop out like crazy. Plus, if you need to do any Photoshop or video production work, having a higher color gamut display is essential. Another key feature that people often miss out on is having a MUX switch. Now in 2021, many laptops didn't come with MUX switches. Thankfully, in 2022, the vast majority of laptops now have a MUX switch. A MUX switch basically allows you to switch the laptop into a higher performance mode, directly connecting the GPU to the internal laptop display. This optimizes the GPU connection to the display, bypassing a CPU bottleneck. So I would recommend in 2022 to double check to make sure any laptop you're buying has it, or at least you're aware of it, and a MUX switch will be particularly helpful if you play CPU-bound games. Next up is an SD card slot. Many people want an SD card slot. Like me, I edit videos, transport footage quite often, and having an SD card slot is very important to me, but my laptop currently doesn't have it actually, which makes me have to use a USB cable. So yeah, that's kind of a sad face for me, but it's not like a deal breaker. It's just kind of a bummer, you know? But if you're a video or photography professional, having an SD card slot may be an absolute deal breaker if the laptop doesn't have one. The next major feature is not having a webcam on the laptop that you need. Many people need webcams for Zoom calls, Skype calls, Discord, live streaming. On top of having a webcam, it's also about the placement of the webcam. You ideally want that webcam to be at the top of the laptop display, not down low for a better viewing angle, and hopefully it's a 1080p higher resolution, better quality webcam, but sadly many gaming laptops don't have very high quality webcams these days. Another key feature is having a good keyboard and trackpad. This is going to be especially important if you're going to be using the laptop in your lap or on the go all the time where you're not using an external mouse and keyboard. Another key feature to keep an eye out for is if you need a specific port such as Thunderbolt 4 or HDMI 2.1, which allows for higher bandwidth display output. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is having enough battery life. Too many users get the laptop home and then they take it to college or take it to work and it just doesn't last nearly as long as they thought it would. And I will mention that if you end up getting a laptop and it doesn't quite have as much battery life as you had hoped, I do recommend potentially buying a second AC adapter, which you can take with you in your backpack, and then you can leave the existing one plugged in at your desk at home. It just makes it a lot easier if you're going to constantly be moving that laptop from place to place. Next up is not enough VRAM. VRAM is used in high resolution gaming, and the latest games have demanded more and more VRAM in general. Plus, if you do virtual reality gaming, you're going to want to get at least 8 gigs of VRAM, ideally 12 or 16 or more. Virtual reality PC VR is very VRAM intensive. When you don't have enough VRAM, it can cause stuttering in game and may require you to turn down textures or other graphical settings that you may not want to turn down, especially if you just got a brand new laptop. That said, most games these days are just fine with 6 or 8 gigs of RAM, but if you're going to want to play 1440p or 4K games, especially in the future, I do recommend getting at least 12 gigs of VRAM. Not getting at least 16 gigs of RAM is another key feature that some users miss out on, but you can always upgrade the RAM later in the vast majority of laptops unless the RAM is soldered on. And another key feature that users miss out on is not having enough CPU cores in their laptop, especially for the thinner, lighter laptops or the more budget-oriented laptops. Some of those laptops are going to come with only 4 or 6 core CPUs, and ideally, especially with Intel 12th Gen out now, it's a lot easier to get a laptop with a lot more cores now. Let's move on to the next big mistake that users tend to make, and that is buying an overpriced ultra high-end gaming laptop, and this is a mistake I have made multiple times. Basically, unless you have a lot of extra money, I don't recommend getting the ultra high-end gaming laptops simply because you're paying such a premium price for just a little bit more performance, say only 5 or 10%. Right now, the bread and butter, the very best bang for the buck laptops are probably going to be RTX 3060 and 3070 laptops, potentially 3080 laptops if you can find them on sale. RTX 3080 Ti laptops are basically going to be for Mr. Moneybags out there who doesn't care about the price and just wants the absolute best, maybe because they plan on keeping that laptop for 5 to 7 years. This brings me to the third biggest mistake, and that is not waiting for the right time to buy a gaming laptop. There are primarily 2 really good times to buy a gaming laptop. Number 1, right after new technology is released. I would say up to about 3 months after the latest gen tech has been released. That's optimal. You can pay full price and still get that latest gen tech, or because that new technology has been released, the existing tech is now on sale. Oftentimes 10, 20, 30% marked down. As of right now, nearing the end of February 2022, I would say is still a great time to either buy a brand new gaming laptop with the latest RTX 3070, Ti 3080 Ti, Intel 12th Gen, Ryzen 6000 series. It's a great time to pick up a laptop with the latest gen tech, or to look for those really juicy deals on gaming laptops that are now on sale, especially on laptops that were very popular in 2021 and typically didn't have much of a sale price. Now, if you're 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through the release cycle, say near the end of 2022, usually that's around where you want to wait for something like a Black Friday sale, like the holiday sales, because those sales will typically be some of the best you'll see all year round on the current gen tech. And of course, companies put these laptops on sale on purpose because they know that the new generation of technology is likely going to be coming out in January and February. So mistake number 4, not getting a laptop that was the right size. Now, I've bought laptops that were like teeny tiny, all the way up to being like 14-pound chonkers, okay? So I've had the experience of hauling this like 14-pound laptop from classroom to classroom in college and always needing to be near a wall outlet because the battery life was only like 30 minutes. So typically speaking, I would say users either make the mistake of getting a laptop that is too big and they actually need something that's very portable, or they end up getting something too small, something that sacrifices a little too much performance really, and then they end up wishing they had got something a little bit thicker to get more performance. For the vast majority of users out there, given how slimmed down the gaming laptops have become, I think a 15 or 16-inch laptop is the sweet spot. And another thing I want to mention when it comes to laptop size is the TDP of the internal components. Typically speaking, thicker laptops will be able to put in beefier, better cooling solutions and increase the total power throughput going to the GPU and CPU, especially under a sustained load. And that's where those medium-sized laptops really play well to being still portable while still taking advantage of high enough TDP to get great performance. Now, the 5th big mistake that I see users making is not getting a laptop that they're actually comfortable with using for extended periods of time. Now, back in 2007, I bought myself a MacBook Pro, and I wanted to run Windows Boot Camp on it so I could play my games, and that made the laptop always run at high power, causing the aluminum chassis to be really, really hot all the time. And in addition, the MacBook Pro aluminum frame had a very sharp edge along the front, which dug into my wrists. After a long time of using the laptop, it ends up really hurting your wrist. So in an ideal situation, I would recommend checking out your laptop in person. That way you can get a feel for what the machine would be like in your lap, or typing on it, using the touchpad, etc., just to make sure that you're going to be comfortable using the machine for extended periods of time. As much as I love aluminum CNC'd milled chassis like in the Razer Blade Pro or the new MSI Creator 17, these aluminum chassis act as a heat sink, dispersing the heat across the entire frame of the laptop, oftentimes causing that wrist rest to warm up quite a bit more than a typical plastic chassis laptop would be. As much as this Scar 15 doesn't feel quite as premium as the Legion 7, this chassis is much cooler to the touch, especially after an extended gaming session. The last thing I'll say for the comfort of the laptop in terms of long-term use is the display size. I think larger laptop displays are just going to be easier to use in general. My general advice would be to get the largest laptop display as long as the laptop also is portable enough for your daily needs for hauling it around. Laptops have made massive leaps and bounds in the last few years. Big performance gains to the point where we have plenty of performance even in the thinner and lighter machines, which is really, really great to see. In the end, it's almost impossible to get a laptop that will perfectly meet every one of your needs, including being the cheapest as it possibly can be. So you'll probably have to make some compromises somewhere, but hopefully those compromises won't be a big deal for you and you'll still be able to really get a great laptop that you're gonna love in the long term. Now, if you found this video helpful, please smash that like button. And if you wanna see more of my content in the near future, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. I'll see you in the next one. Brandon out. Huzzah.